Hello everybody, my name is Crystal and I'm making this video to get help. The children in Florida with learning disabilities need your help, especially those who can't afford it, those who are in public school systems. There is a lack of assistance and help, okay? And I'm going to explain. I'm going to give my testimony and explain how we need help. Um First of all, my daughter has dyslexia, and during the process, um, she kept up for the most part with school. I did notice some things when she was like in the 3 and 4 year old pre-K, right? But she kept up. She had a great teacher, but then COVID happened. So when COVID happened, the gap just widened so much, and she wound up getting in a charter school eventually. They had good teachers, but there was still a gap. And the thing about her was, if you talk to her, she's like a 22-year-old. Like there's like her comprehension was so good, like the way she speaks was so eloquent. But when she reads, it was like staggered. But the thing is, when she read and it was staggered, she could still understand and comprehend what she read and answer the questions. So I'm like, it's not a matter of intelligence, but something's not connecting with her reading. So then my mom was like, get her tested for dyslexia. Your brother had dyslexia, right? So I eventually I did. But let me tell you the process of this, okay? Because this is not right and it's not fair for families. The school system will send you to like a location where you can say, you have speech. They'll give you speech therapy. You have a learning disability. They might put you in ESE, right? But they do not help you get tested for learning disabilities, and they do not give you the assistance for learning disabilities. So pretty much, if you are low income, good luck for your children. And I'm not even being like sarcastic. That is the real deal here, okay? And I'm going to tell you the real deal. So in the county I live in, they do have some assistance when your child is in elementary school, right? They have some assistance. But this is the downfall. There are different types of learning disabilities. And unless you identify the learning disability that your child actually has, they cannot get the capacity to specialize a program just for them. That's one thing about learning disabilities, is very personalized, right? Also, they might in ESC, they might accommodate the kid, but they don't fix the problem. And a lot of things is like, well, if we can address the issue and get to the root of the problem, we can fix it. They don't have that. Okay. Number one, to get your child tested for learning disabilities, you got to pay for it out of pocket. To get tested for learning disabilities, on average, is like $1,500. Yes, $1,500 on average. Okay. We went through a school system. Well, we went through a college to get her tested, and it was income based, and it's if they choose you. Okay. And you might be on the waiting list for like, we was on it for like a year. You get it reduced down. I paid $7,500. I mean, no, I'm sorry, $750. Okay. That's what we paid, $750 for my daughter to get tested for dyslexia. And then on top of that, so they finally was able to diagnose that she did have dyslexia. There are different types of dyslexia, guys. Okay. By the grace of God, she had two amazing teachers. And with once she got the diagnosis, because the thing is, they cannot help you too much unless you got the diagnosis. Other than that, they're going to just be like, okay, you have a learning disability and that's it. We'll accommodate you. We'll put you in ESC. And just to let you know, some kids that's in ESC all the way until like high school, you can graduate with a special diploma. That's not a real diploma. You can't barely even get a job with that. Okay. Let's get that together. And, because it's not a real diploma. Okay. Anyways, so we got her tested. She got, adjustments for dyslexia. So with her, she has to listen. She can listen to audio. So like the audio books, or audio, the teacher doesn't help her with her answers, but she, you could read the question. Okay. So she's more of an auditory learning, person, right? When she was diagnosed, for her test scores in Florida, for throughout elementary school at the time, all of her school test scores were a 1. And I'm like, this, and I told them, anyways, once they found out what the issue was, this is how important a diagnosis and help is. Okay. She went from a 1 to a 4, a mid 4, not even a low floor, like a mid 4 in reading and language arts. Her math was a high 3, almost a 4. Guys, and what if I didn't have the capability of doing that? How many children are out there in these elementary schools in Florida? The only thing they could tell you is something's wrong. They will not treat your kid. They will not get your child help to get them diagnosed at all. This is how important a diagnosis is so they can get treatment, right? Or help. That's number 1. Number 2, in some elementary schools, they do have more programs in the school system, okay? But when I asked, when she was in elementary school, the school she was at, like, it's like they didn't know the resources, right? And even when I called the county, they was like, well, you can transfer to a different school, but it's like the school that she was at is helping her, and the standard in our county, that was an A school. That was one of the best schools in our county. Like, why would I go from a best school to a lesser school? And it was like, well, can I, and I'm not saying lesser, but it's like the education level was different, okay? And so I kept her there. We accommodated her. But the teachers made the biggest difference, because they were accommodating and they were and they was helping her, and the fact that she had the motivation. So that made a big difference. Now, in middle school, in our county, there is absolutely no help for kids with disabilities, with learning disabilities, none. In middle school, they will put them in a reading class, a math class. They'll put them in ESC, which ESC is like you might talk to a person or ask, they get help maybe once or twice a week, if that. So I had to put my daughter in private school, and Step Up does help. But I put her in there because they had a brain training program, which helps with dyslexia. And it's been a great program. Like, her reading, when the thing about the program was, it started pretty much her base from the basic level of reading. She had to relearn how to read. It trains their brain to function and rethink and relearn. Okay. So it helped much wonders. But even with the Step Up Scholarship, it pays for the tuition. But for the dyslexia program, I still had to pay out of pocket. And this is the thing. There is no funding in Florida for tutoring right now for kids with learning disabilities. Okay, there's none. I called them. There is none to help with tutoring. I have to pay $500 a month to get my child help for dyslexia. What about the children that are in these elementary, middle schools, and high schools in Florida who families do not have the money to afford that? And I mean, for me, sometimes it's a stretch, but it's, by the grace of God, and I'm in school, so, you get financial aid and stuff, so it helps accommodate some of the fees. She's going back to charter school next year. But now the program's online. There is a brain training program where you can do it online, so they can, when they come home, they can do it online, which helps a lot, and it's more feasible to more people. But you still have to pay that money. There is no assistance. There's no assistance for kids. When are kids going to get help? I don't know how to get these kids help. I'm making this video for the teachers for the people in high places who can help get funding to help children get the diagnosis. This school system will pay for kids to get gifted tested every 2 years until they get in for free, but will not test children to get tested for learning disabilities to get them help that they need. And most insurances don't even cover it. So there are children just like my daughter who are very smart, who are highly intelligent, because many people with dyslexia are highly intelligent, but because they don't have the help, they don't have the resources, they cannot get the help, and then they are thrown under the bus in this school system because they're labeled as bad, they're labeled as not sufficient, they might be in ESE classes, they might be graduating with special diplomas because there is no help. I don't know how to get them help, but I'm making this video that hopefully it touches somebody to help make a difference for children who do not have resources and access to get help for learning disabilities. Help the children. Share this video. Share it to every educator, every politician, any and everyone who can possibly help get resources that children could get tested in Florida. And now I can talk about Florida because other states have different resources, okay? They can get tested in Florida. There's programs in middle school and high schools for kids with learning disabilities in the public school system. And the fact that in order for some of these kids to even get financial assistance, they have to go to private school. And private school prices are so high, by the time you finish, you still have to pay so much money out of pocket that a lot of parents who are middle class or lower middle class or in poverty level, you cannot afford it. I'm telling you, you cannot. Okay? But we're supposed to, the children are the future, but yet they don't have no help. We want to help kids who are gifted. But guys, some kids that have learning disabilities are really gifted. They just don't, it's like they just don't learn the regular way, the standardized way. They learn a different way. Remember, my daughter went from a 1 to a 4 in a 1 year. 1 year. Let's get our children some help. Thank you.